How's it going, guys? So today I'm going to talk about navigating life with a neurodivergent brain. And I know a lot of people struggle with getting things done, and it's not always just from being lazy. And this especially goes out to all my people who are neurodivergent, whether you have ADHD, autism, or dyslexic, like pretty much whatever, like just pretty much name it. Any of them. But the way we accomplish tasks is not always going to be like how we're usually told to normally do it, and that's fine. Okay, well, maybe not fine for everything, since some things do have specific procedures and whatnot, but some things require complete focus, and my ADHD ass definitely lacks focus a lot of time, but it's like you either do things a little unfocused or you get on medication for it. And while I'm not against being medicated for a mental condition, I also don't take medication due to how it makes me feel. Like, for me, taking like Adderall, for example, makes me feel like a robot with no appetite or ambition or wanting to really do anything besides the status quo, the bare minimum to get things done. And medication affects everybody differently for your own mental conditions like depression, ADHD, so on and so forth. And that's okay. It doesn't work for everybody. Well, it doesn't work for me, like Adderall, may work wonders for some other people. So I do recommend, if you are struggling, this is just a disclaimer, this whole thing. I do recommend, if you are dealing with a mental condition that is making you struggle to get things done, at least trying medication or therapy if you're willing to. And if it doesn't work, that's fine, because you're still alive and you will still find a way to live with it. And that's what this video is going to be about, is living life with a neurodivergent brain. So the funny thing is, the majority of people that I know in my life that I'm close to have symptoms of bad anxiety, ADHD, depression, autism, dyslexia, pretty much the full 924, you name it, across the board. And the thing is, though, they're all still alive, and there's actually quite a few that are living very well off. Some even are making either six-figure salaries or have their own house, are building a family, and are doing pretty well for themselves. They just don't do it like how a normal person would, or don't think like a normal person would, and that's completely fine. And it goes to show that the norm is not necessarily a requirement to be successful in life. Like, doing things the normal way doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful or not. And mind you, context still matters, but in this particular case, in this video, I'm referring to being a functional human being in your personal life and preparing yourself for the daily endeavors. Now, of course, when you're at work, context definitely differs greatly. There are some things that, of course, you're going to have to do a normal procedural way. But outside of that, outside of mundane, and just living your life, like, I feel like you shouldn't be held to a normal standard when it comes to dealing with your own personal life. Like, a lot of times we're told to start a task and stick to it, and if you get distracted and start other tasks, that's a bad thing, and you're usually told you'll never finish if you start on something else, or you're always starting shit you can't finish, and it discourages people from exploring or processing things in a way that works for their brain. And being scatterbrained and being lazy are two different things. And shaming yourself or shaming someone else for being scatterbrained is just not the way to do it. This is not. And just because normal people get things done one at a time, it's like, fuck the norm. Let's say you're cleaning your house, for example, and you start folding clothes, and then you end up swapping to run into the dishes because your brain realized you need to do that, then you need to do that too. Then you fuck off and water your plants, and then go and vacuum because your brain's just like, I need to do this. You get the idea. And it becomes scatterbrained with your chores and start looping around because your brain won't let you stay on one task for too long. And honestly, if it works, that's okay. Of course, being mindful of things you turn off or on when you switch tasks is important, but think of it this way. Like, in The Sims or in the live games, you can start multiple tasks, each with their own loading bar, and you have to go around to each one until it's complete, and that's no different here. Say you're bouncing around everywhere, and each time you do something, like you fold 5 shirts, wash 3 dishes, eventually you're going to run out of shirts to fold, you're going to run out of dishes to wash, you're going to run out of floor to vacuum. which ultimately means you're still successful. You got the job done. You just did it in a very obtuse way. Same amount of work as if you did it one at a time. You just did it in a way that works for your brain at that moment. You can make it even set a timer as like a little solution and helpful thing for that, for like a 2 or 3 minute interval for each task, so that way you know when to switch, because that's all your attention span can muster. And that's not the only example of how you can do things differently from the norm and make things work. It's something that I commonly do, because me at home, I can't just simply do one thing and stick to it unless I'm like really locked in. But there are exceptions to the rule, of course, like I mentioned earlier, like we have jobs, education, social interactions, things that sometimes require us to do things a particular way where we just have to follow a set standard. But generally, I feel like we should live life and do tasks in a way that are more manageable for how our brains work instead of how things should work for a normal brain or neurotypical brain, if possible. Everyone's unique, and if you struggle to finish a task in your life normally, then find a way to make it engaging for you. Now, there was something cool that I found out by talking to one of my old coworkers at my job called gamifying your life, where basically they made their own life an RPG. Of course, my nerdy ass was like, what do you mean by that? But basically, he was talking about like it's like D&D but for real life. In like most games, you have side quests, and the side quests are basically chores. For example, he would give himself experience points each time he gets up to go to work or complete a task, and you add like +1 to your strength when you go to the gym, or +1 intelligence when you learn a new skill for your job or something at school. And you level up by either getting enough XP by doing your task, or by having a big event, a big successful event such as like graduating or getting a different job or learning a new skill. And you get an automatic level up on your birthday. And when he talked about this or told me about this, it just seemed like it was a lot of fun for him, and it was a way to allow him to think of life in a different aspect, except for, you know, not being mundane and just boring and normal. Like, he just found a way to just make life fun and engaging for his own brain. He's aware that he's different from everybody else. I can't remember if he was autistic or not, but in this case, it doesn't really matter to me because he just found a way to make life work for him with his way of thinking. He even talked about setting up quest rewards when he completed a task, like he would take himself out to dinner or buy a new outfit, treat himself for completing specific tasks or completing like a week of work or something like that, which is awesome to me. One of the downsides was he kept it all in a notebook, which my ass would not do. I mean, it worked for him, and if it works for other people, that sounds awesome. But the point of all this is to say that you can find a way to live life that you can completely just imagine it, make up something that makes it so your life is more interesting outside of it just being mundane and shit. And that's awesome to me that he found a way to turn his life into a freaking RPG and just kind of just make it fun for him to get through the day, because I know how difficult it is to just sometimes you just get to a point in your life where everything just feels samey or mundane or tiring, do the same shit, different day, blah, blah, blah. So you really have to find a way to make life work for you. And when you are a neurodivergent, then sometimes that issue can be exacerbated, especially when you fall into a depression or a funk and people are telling you to do things in a normal fashion when you know damn well every time you try doing it that way, it just it doesn't resonate. So that's just another example, aside from the chores example, of how you can think differently of your life in a way that works for your brain. And I'm pretty sure that guy that I was talking to, he ended up getting a new job. I'm pretty sure he's making close to 6 figures a year. So he's doing very well off. And people always look at people who are neurodivergent, who have like autism, ADHD, as people who are like the outcasts, who end up struggling to do basic shit, who end up failing at life because they're so different, their brains don't work as well as normal people do. And I say bullshit to that, because a lot of people that are very famous and wealthy definitely think on a level a lot differently than normal people would. And you could argue, I can't really back this up, so I'm just being hypothetical at this point. But you could argue that, like, you know, people like fucking Elon Musk with this freaking wanting to name everything X of some sort, like, that man is not normal. But he is very smart, undeniably. Albert Einstein, too, very smart. And these people do not have neurotypical brains. I don't know if they have autism, dyslexia, ADHD, nor do I care. I just know that they are different from the rest and they are neurodivergent, which means that being neurodivergent doesn't necessarily make you an outcast or make you any less of a viable person to be able to live life successfully than a neurotypical person would. So if that inspires you to hopefully see yourself in a different light, then cool. Hopefully in a positive way. You don't have to be Elon Musk or Albert Einstein or Mark Zuckerberg, whatever the fuck his name is. I don't say Zach Zuckerberg. In order to be successful. But basically these people have found a way to use their unique quirks with their brain to make success in life. And if they can, being people who aren't really considered, your normal, average, typical dude or person, then I feel like anybody with enough effort can make life work for them and have success in their own way. But again, this whole thing about being normal, like, why can't you be normal and stay focused on one thing at a time, is very bullshit to me. Something that's been told my entire life, to just do things like everybody else does. And that just does not work for me. It does not resonate. And here I am doing things in my own way, and I'm doing quite well. Shit, I got my own place, so that's freaking a victory in of itself. Like, shit. But it took a lot of time for me to really think about how I want to live my life and how to make things work for me. Because, like, sometimes you can't focus on something and your brain just isn't interested or engaged in doing this the normal way, then it's just not going to work. You have to find a way to get tasks done that work for you, whether it's making a game out of it, multitasking, scheduling interviews, or finding a way just to navigate life and do important tasks. You just have to do it in a way that works for you. I'm going to say this again. I'm not advocating you ignore, like, your instructions at your job and say fuck it and break something because no way sucks. Like, again, there are circumstances and contextual issues that are just out of control and you have to follow procedures. But for things like cleaning your house, living life outside the mundane, loving yourself, loving others, there's no script or procedure to life that will prepare you for that, whether you're neurotypical or not. So you have to make your life something that makes you feel like you're in control. Even if you have to do it in a roundabout way, do it in a way that works for you. There's nothing more stressful than getting tilted from doing something because we can't do it in the normal way that's recommended by everybody in society wants you to do it this way. And we end up letting those expectations make us feel shameful because we're neurodivergent. And I honestly say, fuck those expectations. Do what keeps your brain engaged. If it's working for your life, like if you have OCD and have to let only, like, I can't really find the words for this. This I should have a script for. But fuck expectations for living a normal life, or living life in a way where it's like, you have to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, go to the gym, do 3 productive tasks. Fuck that. No, who's actually doing that for us to be successful? Like, no, fuck that. Do what keeps your brain engaged. If it's working for you in life, then by all means, just keep doing it and make it work. Don't let other people influence your life if you're already doing well for yourself. But again, don't deny that if you are not doing well for yourself, to try to get help, whether it be medication, therapy, whatever it is. Do not let yourself just fall and just stay in a complacent or terrible spot in life. But as long as you're not hurting anybody, including yourself, then just go ahead and just let yourself just be different. be comfortable with how your brain works and keep people in your life that like you for who you are, no matter how or if you do things normally. And don't let people make you feel ashamed for being different and not doing things like everybody else. But anyway, I feel like I've rambled on enough. I hope this all made some kind of sense to you in a way. This is Trent from No Net Clarity, and have a good one. Peace.